I'll drink to that. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jer, and who would want to kill the cook? The food wasn't that bad. Y'all, I was not gonna do any kind of muggatry today. I was gonna do a simple, understated business attire, and then the fantasy hit, so...
You won!
This is probably also the last time that I'll be able to wear this. My shoulders are getting way too big, and my arms barely fit in here. I've been on a fitness journey, and nothing fits anymore. Today we are talking about Drag Race All-Stars 11, Episode 8, the Rappin' Roast Redux. And I'll start by saying that this episode circumvented every single expectation I had from literally top to bottom. And I know a lot about bottoms. From the mini challenge that I typically don't like on Drag Race to the actual main challenge that I didn't think I was gonna like, all the way to the very end. I loved every part of this. I still adore Purple Bracket probably more than any other casting bracket in this format because they're all so charismatic and likable and watchable, and I think the way that they're being handled is making for some really good moments. There was a little bit of drama in the cold open regarding Sam's win. The queens gave her flowers, but a lot of them felt that Jasmine won that lip sync. And I thank you, Joey J and Kennedy Davenport, considering that they were actually in the... Can you not do this? Sabotage, I swear. Where was I? The MVQ ceremony followed similar beats as other ones before it, where everybody in the room exchanges points until at least everyone's got one. I was hoping that this bracket was gonna change the status quo, and I really thought that Kennedy was about to do it. Suga decided to give her point to Kennedy because she saw how hard she worked and how disappointed she was for not reaching the top, thinking that that was going to get a little back scratch for her too. And Kennedy was like, well, the MVQ means who the best one is in the room, and that's Jasmine, so I should give it to her. But also, I kind of wanted to give it to somebody else, and then I guess since you gave it to me, I guess I will give it back to you, Suga. The monologue was very similar to a Shangela in All Stars 3 being like, the queen that I've decided to send home underneath her big blonde hair is a bald-headed bitch, and she has a famous web show with her very best friend. They talk about random topics. She's got crazy clown makeup, and she's kind of inspired by Dolly Parton, but I think that she's a star I've decided to send home Chi-Chi. The emotional torture was just not necessary, but I think that Kennedy probably learned from her milk moment and just decided to talk rather than make a snap judgment. And for a second, I thought that Suga was gonna get gooped in front of that room, and even if I would have been upset about that, I would have screamed. Rue comes in the following day and tells the queens that they're gonna be playing a version of Drag Race Superlatives for the mini challenge. This is something, if you are a returning guest to my home, you know that I typically hate this challenge. It's something that the producers toss in at a certain point in the competition to manufacture some drama between the queens, to get them infighting in a way that's not interesting or kind or respectful, in my opinion. It's usually framed as, who's the most pretty, who's gonna steal your boyfriend, who farts a lot, and also who do y'all think is the booger bitch and is gonna go home tonight because they just suck so bad that they are going to flopperella. Not because we the judges think that they're bad, but because y'all hate them and think that they suck. And so I just don't like that. It's a plot device that the producers can kind of run with stories. And there was some interesting foreshadowing in this mini challenge, which, hold on to your pants, we'll get there at the very end of this review. But I actually really liked the format of this because for the All-Stars bracketed format where nobody's going home, there's quite literally no stakes. The worst question of Drag Race Superlatives is who's gonna go home in your opinion. And that can't really exist in here because that's not a factor. And I think the majority of these questions were funny. They were framed like a read. And to me, they weren't meant to get in the queens' heads, more just to create some fun, healthy rivalry between them. My favorite questions of the night were who was most likely to invite you to a three-way, and Joey J won that. And listen, sometimes you need a second top to fill up a hungry, hungry bottom. Which queen is the most creative when it comes to face filler apps? Facetune is extremely important for drag. When it comes to performing talent, which queen is doing the most with the least? Hershey and Kennedy won that, and there was some interesting foreshadowing that Joey J set up here that ended up coming to fruition at the very end. More on that later. The last question that I loved so much was which queen knows how to read a bitch down but not a book? And Kennedy voted for herself and said, you said book, right? I love her so much. Joey and Suga won that mini challenge but got seemingly no advantage in the maxi. I think it would have made sense if they had both gotten an opportunity to choose where they wanted to go in the lineup first. And then the others could fight over their slots, which didn't happen for whatever reason. Last year, I was not a fan of the rappin roast, but I quite liked it this year. And the runway category will be called Ladies Who Lunch. What a bizarre runway challenge after a hip-hop maxi. But I'm here for the non-sequitur whimsy. Non-sequitur! So let's get into my rankings based on my personal preferences, and you can find a reference chart for free on Patreon. The link is below. Regardless of how you feel about my preferences, these are the point scores that I chose to allocate. In my 6th position is the lost older twin of Spice, Sugarcane. Oh, how the mighty have fallen from my top placement last week to now the 6th position. And I am a Sugarcane stan. This hurt me to put her down here. I was not a fan of the performance look. I know that Michelle gave it praise, but I just was not a fan of the twin tails. I did not like the look. It was at the bottom of the ranking for me. She comes in 5th in the roast lineup saying that she's a roast machine and then proceeds to be there. The judges said that her reads were too sweet, but I fully disagree with that. I think they missed punchlines. Joey's first, yeah, we get she's gay, but I think it's time to pray the J away. That was on the funnier side, but I think it was a little Mother Goosey. And the rest of her roasts were a little undercooked in my opinion. I barely giggled at most of them, and I'm extremely easily amused. Y'all look confused? That's not Trinity the Tuck, that's Sam Star in her mom's old stuff. That was also okay. But the fact that every single queen only read that Sam borrowed stuff from Trinity her last run got a little repetitive and boring as the episode went on. This does happen in the reading challenges. People will say the same jokes about somebody's teeth or about their singing abilities or their bald spot. This isn't anything new for the reading challenge, but I do wish that they had all collabed to make sure that their reads were not too similar for others in the room. Give us a little bit of variety. And on the runway, Suga is giving us something new. Very new for Lana. I want to start with some compliments because Suga looked ravishing in beige. I am very much here for the styling choices, those small pearls, the tiny little purse that you can store a mint and some Xannies in. The hairstyle is really sick, but a lady who lunches? I don't think. Those puffy sleeves are gonna be a real biatch when trying to eat anything with a fork. So finger foods it may be, but those sleeves are gonna knock over everything on the table when she's just trying to grab a little sandwich off the plate. Personally, I've got a major problem with the skirt. It looks like fabric you would see on those tacky headboards on those cheap motels if you've ever been to one. And the corset reminds me of these corduroy overalls that I had as a kid, which are fierce and sickening. Corduroy needs to make a comeback. But a lady who lunches? It's a fierce textile, but maybe not the type of texture you want on a corset when you're trying to look like a woman who's had, how many husbands have you had? Mine, other women's. Yours. 5, just 5. It's kind of uggo, but I love her. The runway's a chop, sadly. In my 5th position is my ultimate bias in this bracket, Jasmine Kennedy. Ugh, another knife to the heart. She chose to be 2nd in the lineup, which really didn't matter at all since these were pre-recorded. I didn't really care much for the outfit she wore in the challenge. It's like burned up remnants stitched together. Was there a house fire? It was my least favorite performance look of the night. She had some great hits, but like Suga, I found her roast to be undercooked. To Kennedy, we heard Trey didn't like the session. Keep your good eye on me, baby, learn a lesson. Perhaps a familiar joke. We heard a lot about the scrying eye in season 3. New content. Sam, great gowns, beautiful gowns. I love the memetry. Just a shame they're all Trinity's hand-me-downs. A theme that we will continue to hear through the echo chamber, both online and on the show, for perpetuity probably. Like, we gotta come up with new reads for Sam. I think probably the best one that has come out in the last year was from Naomi Smalls asking if Sam was a Christian, to which now Alaska's repeating on Race Chaser, which I think is hilarious. This was maybe my favorite version of the Sam's wearing Trinity's clothes. I like the way that the joke is set up. Suga and Hershey, it's Chocolate Boo was a great reference to her season's chocolate gimmick.
It's chocolate.
Overall, I found the jokes familiar. I don't know if that's a bad thing, it just doesn't make you stand out positively. In her praise, she was very present when the other queens were doing their rap roasts. She was reacting appropriately, she was making big expressions, and I thought she was a fun time to watch. On the runway, Jasmine is going for this Gilded Age woman who lunches. I like that she was thinking about a different look for this era rather than an expected look. It's giving she's about to bully someone for being just a little too poor in her section of the cruise ship and I live. She looks like a rich diva in a film. I love this color choice of purple because that's always been perceived as a royal and opulent color, especially for the period that she's aiming for. I like how demure she is. Women in this style of garment aren't trying to reveal too much. The sexuality is in how they carry themselves, how their presence is, and she held this powerful stance the entire time she was walking down the runway. I have very few notes. This is utterly fab, and I think the pinstripe draws more attention to those style lines since it breaks up a lot of the color. It's all very complimentary to her frame. Big Max Slay of a look. In my fourth position is Kennedy Davenport! For the media and critical thinking illiterate folks in chat, I am looking at getting some crayons so that I can give y'all some drawings and diagrams on why people ended up where they were. But for the rest of y'all who are competent at listening to people's opinions, Kennedy for me scored the highest with her roast look and performance, but then scored a little bit lower on the actual reads, as well as this runway. Woof. I'll start by saying that Kennedy's biggest struggle point in prior seasons was her ability to lip sync to songs that were done on Drag Race in a small timetable. See Glamazonian Airways when she just moved her lips in a direction of words. She struggled impossibly in that Janet number that she did for the VH1 Divas, and then she also did not do very good when it came to the Snatch Game Rusical. Kennedy is obviously a professional. She knows her lip sync words, but I think when you give her a small timetable to learn them, she struggles. And so here I was very pleasantly surprised that she killed the challenge, murdered it. Every single word was spot on. And I was watching her mouth closely because this has been a problem on Drag Race every time she's appeared. I like the wordplay of her lyrics to Jasmine. Jasmine, I'm the only Kennedy, bitch, you ain't no kin of me, just my mini-me. But then I got a little confused on her multi-read to Sam and Hershey. Without season 7, there wouldn't be a 17 like Joey J, filler queen. Did she low-key read season 7 as a filler season? If you can't roast yourself, right? But I will say season 7 is obligatory watching. The memes that come out of that season shape all of Drag Race permanently. Argue with that wall. But I will say her last read to Suga was the best of the entire night. I know Spice had a twin. Who the f is this booger? Cause what the hell happened to Suga? I laughed so hard I had to pause the episode. And then we get to the runway. Kennedy, girl. Nothing says ladies who lunch like tacky bugle beads and sequins in the day. This garment is gonna be a real problem when you're trying to navigate through tables and chairs. It's gonna hit all the purses along the way to your table. And then it's just gonna rattle and make so much noise when you're trying to sit down at your fancy table. She looks like she's gonna go to a gay rodeo. Like, this is high-key hideous. This could have been ugliest dress ever if they did some type of redemption runway. I can't think of many places this would be a fab garment, even under the cover of night. And then the lace gloves with the beading kind of made me laugh. It's an ugly chop. This is absolutely the ugliest thing I've ever seen on All Stars. On Bible. Coming in third for me is Hershey LaCourgette. She had this emotional story about the midpoint of the episode, talking about how her daughter was graduating to pre-K and how she missed being able to be there and wished that she could be there. I am not a parent, I only have cats, but I can imagine that even in my situation, that if I was away from a critical vet visit and I couldn't be there for that, I would feel guilty. So I can't even imagine amplifying that feeling to a living, breathing human being who's gonna have thoughts and emotions and experiences with me not being around. Being a parent and also going to Drag Race sounds like a grueling experience, but props to Hershey for being able to do this and keep focused and do a solid job in this roast. She decided to go fourth, and for her performance look, that was my second favorite of the entire night. She had super strong energy when it came to her lyrics, but then the performance was a bit flat for me. My favorite of her roasts were, you can't read Suga in this age of politics, cause you know what they say, protect the bricks. Bricks deserve rights! I didn't find a lot of her jokes particularly funny. They were mostly casual observations written with good rhymes. So it was kind of tough for me when she made it to the top and then on the runway. Yo, this This is next level for Hershey. First off, she looks radiant in bronze. This is a great color for her. The judges called this a Gilded Age look as well, but Hershey did not specify that during her runway walk, just that she felt pretty in it. And for me, I thought this was a little more saloon girl. It's a little more can-can, it's a little French. The neckline isn't quite as conservative to hit the style that the panel pinned this as. It is a little more flashy, it's a little more fantasy. If anything, it's this kind of unique blend of multiple fashion reference points, but I didn't quite see gilded, especially because she's got this choker that also doesn't look very gilded to me. That's not bad at all, I'm just pointing it out. I love the fine ruching of the skirt. That mix of textiles is gorgeous. It is a brilliant look. I don't get lunch from this though. It is giving me a saloon girl in the middle of the night. It's a slay though. In my second position is Sam Starr. I think you're biased against Sam. Explain this, you goobers. Sam's storyline was pretty major this week. She comes in feeling really good about her lip sync win, only to end up feeling a little bit undermined by the rest of the room who didn't totally agree that she won the lip sync. She thought that they were going to want to nurture her success and carry her to the next stage of her development, considering that she's a young Rue girl. I can't think of anyone who got this treatment. Even someone like Aja, who was fresh on the scene in All Stars 3, did not get any kind of hand-holding. In fact, they were kind of harsher towards her because they didn't have any type of camaraderie with her. I love that Kennedy clocked her right away and said, "No baby, we gave you your flowers. We just thought that Jasmine won. This is an opinion that we all have. An opinion that people have." Two things can be true at once. You can respect what somebody does, but also think that somebody else was stronger or better than them. Chat. Sam chose to close the show, which is normally a big move in a roast, and I think she ended with great energy. I just wrote in my notes, succinct. Sam had great dance moves, and I was super impressed with the way that she carried herself this week. She started strong with, "Jasmine, sure, her moves pack a punch, but her mug is so hard I call her Captain Crunch." Girly. Looks are giving broke. Suga needs a sugar daddy. Great wordplay. Her irrigation joke towards Joey was way too cerebral, needed way too much explanation. It was funny after it was explained, but as the adage goes, if you have to explain it, is it funny? Hershey on deck, stepping up to bat, but wait a minute, y'all. Who the hell is that? Ooh, that was good. And then I loved her wrap up. Kennedy's back. I'm really confused. Rue slept on you twice, about to hit snooze. Again, great wordplay here. And ending with "bless your heart" was a great callback to her original roast. I think overall, her lyrics were spectacular, and I think the setup of them was genuinely funnier than everybody else that came before her. The performance look was on the lower end for me. I didn't quite care for it, but I think she was strong in the challenge. So she got a lot of really high marks for me. And on the runway, she was inspired by classic Chanel. Gaggability. My mouth dropped to the floor. The piping on the look of this neckline is show-stopping. This is definitely my favorite Sam Starr look of all time. It's such tacky glam and I am here for it. The entire look is whimsy. She said it was a fashion sketch come to life. And for me, it totally looks like those McCall patterns where they show you something that is way too grand for your sewing skills as an at-home seamstress, but that you're gonna try really hard to replicate. They overstyle the drawing and give it all kinds of cool accessories that you'll never have access to. And it looks like that. It looks like that stepped off of the McCall patterns. The colors are luxe. I'm a sucker for those pops of gold, pearl, and silver, which should not work, but they do with that pink. The judges did not love the hat. They wanted that gone. I liked the hat. What I didn't like was the neck ruffle. I say as I'm wearing one. This is a brilliant look. It is meant to be over stylized because that's how those ladies who go to lunch are. That's why I liked Jasmine so much, because it is a little over stylized. A little. This is the best look of the night next to Joey. Super slay. And then in my number one position this week goes to Drag Race's very first gay contestant of all time, Joey J. She was feeling underestimated by the group on a whole because she went home so early, they don't have a lot of expectations for what she's able to deliver. But Mama is serving the goods. I cannot with how badly they played in her face this week. Last week, I could maybe forgive it. Rue didn't like the buttons. But she connected with Rue last week in a way that nobody else did. She made Rue gutturally laugh during her roast. This week, I can't even explain this. For her look in the challenge, she chose the Mugler biker look, and if that is the only reason she did not break top 2, I'm filming.
My hair is frazzled!
If you are a returning guest to this channel, you know that I've aired out my grievances with this style of look. I think I complained about this when Discord did it, but my last and final straw was when Daphne Mugler did it in España 5. I just was done with it and I'm like, okay, cute that she did it, it's a part of her name, but I just don't want to see this anymore, I'm done. And that's when my embargo hit list went out on this style of look. But what I will say is that I think Joey did it the best I've ever seen. It is so customized and clearly inspired by the concept with its own unique twist. And it's cool. Joey opens the show strong. She spent a long time reading Suga in comparison to the others, but she had a great Jasmine Crockett reference. Bleach blonde, bad built Buick of the bitches.
Oh, wait a minute, bitches.
Period. And ended that read with the most iconic of all time, AARP Metamucil by the Guzzle. Mic drop. To Jasmine, the mug is giving fish. Angler, week 2 with the fish mention. And ending with Rue's serious question, who the f is this? And pointing to Hershey was brilliant, hilarious, show-stopping, absolutely the best part of the entire evening. She ate and left literally no crumbs. This whole roast was magical. And if the only reason she did not break top 2 was because of her performance look, that is BS. Yes, the performance look does count for something and it matters, but when she was the strongest of everyone, that brings her into a safe spot. I don't get it. And then on the runway for Ladies Who Lunch, Joey is giving this sexy suit dress. I'm utterly fascinated by the hairstyle. The twists are like the little pastries that are around the cakes. First off, I'm obsessed with the pleating of the top. I adore those structured shoulders. And who would think to pair lake blue with beige and gold? Literally no one, because that's psychotic, but it works here. I enjoy the custom bag with this look. I'm just not a huge fan of those shoes because under the light they kind of read as Quicksilver and looked way too contrasting to the overall look. But then she got to the end of the runway and they appeared as if they were maybe cerulean with a glaze over them. And so I wish that those had maybe been a nude or a beige, even just a matte denim color I think would have worked. She looks rich, she looks expensive, she looks like she's gonna be eating those quarter-sized finger foods, the sandwiches, and those layered cakes that come in those paper cups. This is a perfect look. Max slay. After the challenge, I loved the editing of including the queens going into the workroom and doing their sort of de-drag period where they get ready for the runway. I thought that set up some interesting storyline of getting to hear their thoughts of how they did in the challenge and what they were expecting to come next. Can we please do this all the time? Whoever edited this episode needs to pitch this concept for every other one that comes after it. I loved that. What I will say, and this is an old Drag Race critique that I'm sorry to harp on, but it does resonate in my brain a little bit. Back in the day, the judges got on queens like Detox for overusing curse words in her reading and roasting. Using cuss words was a sign that she was very nervous, and that was a crutch that she was relying on. In my personal opinion, I do semi-agree with this. I think when you use too many curse words, it dilutes the power of them. Like a good right in the middle of a sentence can be hilarious and bombastic, but when you're saying this, that, over and over and over again, it doesn't have as much impact. And when you curse in any type of reading or roasting, it's gotta be like a pepper. Too much and it's overpowering, but just enough and you've made your dish phenomenal. And I do think that should be addressed on some level. Rue calls the top 2 as Kennedy and Hershey. And I do think that there was a little bit of storyline regarding Kennedy because she was feeling like the room was not gonna have her back since it's her 4th time, that she's not gonna get any help. I would have been okay with the top 2 being Hershey and Joey. I would have been fine with the top 2 being Sam and Joey, Sam and Hershey. Kennedy was a little bit of a question mark for me. And girl, not Joey getting her face played in 2 weeks in a row. I already know what's gonna happen next week. It's like Selena and Morphine all over again. When the queens came out, I could not believe that Kennedy allowed herself to go on stage looking like that. I thought for a second I should pause and go watch Untucked. I thought maybe she got beat up or something while she was back there and like one of the queens mugged her and they just didn't talk about it at all. But then it all made sense when the lip sync song started, which is the Ladies Who Lunch. Kennedy was performing as this drunk character, which is why she looked nuts. To me, it was very reminiscent of her character from The Hole, or even from The Bachelor. I commend her for her commitment to looking crazy. That is something that Kennedy has always been able to do on Drag Race, is allow herself to look a little wild for the purpose of amusement. Overall, I love the faces that Kennedy was pulling. She was very funny to watch, so unserious. I love the way that she was flailing about the stage, but in a controlled way, and I lived. Hershey was a bit hard for me. She wasn't really connecting with the judges or the camera, and she fulfilled something that Joey had talked about earlier on in the episode. This is called a callback, people. Joey mentioned that Hershey in her shows, her wig is often moving around, but the feet and legs aren't doing much. And that's kind of exactly what happened here. Her head was moving a lot, body wasn't. I appreciated how hard Kennedy went in on this lip sync, and you could tell that she wanted to win bad. She's aware that she's not gonna get any pity points from the room, similar to how Silky didn't until the very end. And she knows she's not a part of these cliques, so she's gotta make an impression with the judges, and she did that. Rue calls Kennedy as the winner of the lip sync. I totally agree. And even though I personally don't think that Kennedy should have been top 2, I'm glad that we got to see this performance because this was phenomenal. Next up is the finale of the non-elimination bracket. We are going to be experiencing lip syncing to interviews from the RuPaul show in duos. And it looks like there's gonna be point drama in the beginning, and I cannot wait for the mess. But I'm really curious if this bracket they're gonna judge in pairs or separate again, because they've been inconsistent about that so far. In orange bracket, they judged separately during the pair challenge, and then in pink bracket, they judged in duos. So will they break form here and judge again separately? I mean, they can't really win with me at this point with the way that they were so inconsistent between both brackets. It'll all depend on who they're trying to push, I think. And I can't wait to see how the mess turns out. What'd y'all think about this episode? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to check out that Patreon, the link is below. This was a great episode from start to finish, and I am loving the purple bracket so much. I'm sad that it's gonna be over soon. I will see y'all on the flip.